I had a friend in school who unfortunately I made the big mistake of starting a relationship with. One day we were playing a game and we were in a classroom on our own, and I had to step out to make a phone call because my relative was ill. He turned the shark eyes on me and said, "I don't care." He has blue eyes, but at that moment his eyes were almost entirely black, flat and completely devoid of any expression except contempt. That sounds like nothing, but the fear it instilled in me was overwhelming. I made my call, but I stayed in the next room for ages trying to calm my heart palpitations and eyeing up alternative routes out of the building, which didn't involve me going past the room he was in again. I could not make my body return to the room where that thing was waiting, even though objectively he had just said something a little insensitive. My body was in a full flight or fight mode. Eventually, the fear that he had heard me stop talking and was wondering where I was, and the fact that all my stuff apart from my phone was in the room with him, made me go back in. The only door I could get out was a fire door, and I was afraid that opening it would set off an alarm. That's a decision I regretted, as it was the beginning of a short, abusive relationship, which was then followed by years of stalking and harassment, which continued even when he was in the military. I honestly believe he let me see behind the mask, and from that point on, he couldn't let me live in peace. The abuse was physical, sexual, and especially psychological. Even now, when my phone buzzes, I get a shiver. I literally moved out of the country, partially to make it harder for him to track me down. But as we have mutual friends from school and hometown, it's been impossible. It is slightly easier to impress that he should not know where I am, as he's been up to charges of sexual assault and stalking of another ex. The charges were dropped, but at least I can point them to bolster my own case. At the beginning, people were way too eager to get us back in touch, as, "He's so moody since you left." If I had stayed, I'd be dead. He'd been even moodier without me then. If someone makes the little hairs on the back of your neck spike, believe your instincts. Drop everything and never interact with them again. He was a burning building, and I went back in for my bag, which you should basically never do. As a teacher, I'd like to say there wasn't one defining instance, but more of a long list of things that brought me to the realization that in 20, maybe 10 years, I'd see this little boy as a teen or a man on the news for murder. I had this one student, let's call him Timmy. Timmy was prone to extreme, violent outbursts for little to no reason at all, and they were so unpredictable that I had to set up a Timmy evacuation protocol with my other students in case I felt their lives were in danger. These are some of the times I had to use this protocol. Before Timmy was banned in my room from using pencils and safety scissors, he went on a rampage with a pencil. He was trying to stab another classmate because I helped her with her writing before him. He was doing his writing just fine, and seconds before that I had told him, "Great job, Timmy, I love how you're keeping your letters on the lines." He didn't need help, and he never once asked for it. Thankfully, the little girl was not hurt as I was right there and was able to throw my hand in front of her face where he was aiming. However, he did get to me and the pencil lead was left in my hand. Timmy attempted to choke another child because the child was using a red crayon. So instead of getting an identical red crayon from the bucket in front of him, he tackled that child out of his chair and put his hand around his neck while screaming like a banshee. About a week after the choking incident, he was upset because he wanted to be the only one in class, so he pushed a shelf that, as a grown adult, I have trouble moving over, in an attempt to, in his words, squish his classmates who were working on the carpet. Thankfully, I was able to hold it up while they ran. He proceeded to destroy my entire room, to the point where I decided to just move classrooms for the day as it would have been impossible to clean it up, and frankly, I didn't want my already traumatized students to come in and witness it. Every single day, this child would have a violent meltdown. Some were contained to himself, a small area, or me personally. I am a new PK teacher. This child was 4 years old. I am not a classroom teacher, but I taught my children at home. When my son was in the 6th grade, he had a classmate named Will Lemke. The first time I saw the boy, I knew he was a sociopath because there was nobody there when I looked in his eyes. It made my blood run cold. December 23, 2001, Will murdered his parents, 18-year-old sister, and 12-year-old brother, dumped the bodies, cleaned up the blood, thawed steaks out, and invited friends over to party. Took the family truck into town to the espresso stand where his sister had worked and told the barista that his family had gone to Canada on a vacation. We were about an hour south of the Washington border. Thing is, everyone knew his parents would never do that, so his older brother, who didn't live at home, thank God, was contacted and police were called. It's been said that deputies noticed something was wrong when they interviewed Will at the family's home, and that they learned while interviewing Will at the sheriff's office that the bodies have been dumped northwest of Adiof Nath Road. The bodies were discovered in a Saturday, covered in snow on the side of a road near Eddy, a small community about 60 miles of North Spokane. Will was 16 at the time, and they lived 4 miles up the road from us.